Today we're going to get a little information on dementia. Not that anybody in this room needs it, but Claire Richardson is the Outreach and Resource Development Manager at Dementia Together. That's an organization here in Fort Collins. Before assuming this position, she dedicated 3 years as a board member on that organization and was involved in various educational programs with the organization. She lives in Johnstown with her husband and 2 daughters who are involved in softball and baking, and her husband's a battalion chief for the fire department. So Claire, come on up and tell us about the resources we have here.
Okay, we're gonna see if I can multitask today. All right, well, welcome. Thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Claire Richardson, and like JD said, I'm the Outreach and Resource Development Manager for Dementia Together. Basically, what I do is I create awareness about what our organization is doing in the community, as well as working with partners to help support the mission of Dementia Together. Our mission is to create communities in which no one has to walk the dementia journey alone. Oh boy, okay. There we go. All right, so who is Dementia Together? We are a local nonprofit that serves those living with dementia, their families, our communities, and businesses. It's through our 3 pillars, education, enrichment, and hope, that we cultivate joy while building stronger connections for those living with dementia. We identify as an in the meantime organization, so Alzheimer's Association tends to focus on the cure. We're in the meantime helping people until cures for the various causes of dementia are found. We walk that dementia journey with them, providing the highest care level with the education that we provide. We've currently served in the last decade 25,000 people. 87% come from Larimer and Weld and Boulder County, with 13% coming from outside of the United States and outside of Colorado. I find it very fascinating how so many people around the world come to know more about us. We've served people from Greenland, Costa Rica, Canada, and beyond. So how it all started. Cindy Luzinski is our executive director, and you never really come to find a passion until you're living it or you're faced with a challenge. So she was about 14 years ago, she was a nurse case manager at PVH and caring for a geriatric load of patients, many who had dementia. It wasn't until she received a call from her own father saying that he couldn't multitask, focus, and felt like he was living in a fog. She took that deep breath, figured that he's been living well. She wanted to not only continue to help him live well, but finish well. She made it her mission to ultimately research different methodologies that would help her dad finish well on that journey. So as she began to study, she came across the Speckle method, which was presented and founded by Penny Garner out of the UK. This book, The Contented Dementia, was written by her son-in-law. I highly recommend that book just to kind of understand the framework about what Dementia Together and what the Speckle method is about. So in her journey, Cindy actually traveled across the seas, met with Penny Garner in a coffee shop, and learned everything that she could about the Speckle method, how to communicate, all the philosophies that go beyond that, and the strategies that were involved. The Speckle method, just to kind of overview, and I'll dive deeper into that, utilizes simple counterintuitive strategies to promote lifelong well-being for the person living with dementia and their care partner. So when we think of dementia, dementia is an umbrella term with various causes that are associated. So Alzheimer's Association, Lewy body. Lewy body is what Cindy's father had and experienced. So for our method that we utilize and why Cindy fell in love with it so much is that it didn't require her to have a greater understanding about what kind of dementia her father had or what stage he was in. The Speckle method truly allowed her to help her dad no matter what type of dementia or what stage. So the Speckle method utilizes a simple analogy of a photograph album. This represents a normal aging memory system, and then we'll kind of talk about what advanced dementia or onset of dementia looks like. But it's the simple fact of, I'm sorry, one second. So it uses a photograph album with an analogy of facts and feelings. These being facts and the inside, or I'm sorry, the outside being feelings and the inside being facts. And when, sorry. Yes, okay, so this is a process that we commonly do just day-to-day basis. So when we're in the normal aging process, we have a great understanding of why we're doing something, where we're at, all because these photographs are flying in at a rate that is just unmeasurable to us and to the naked eye. So you guys knew you were supposed to be here, you knew what you're doing today, all because those facts and feelings stored. So for someone living with dementia, a new photograph stores, which is called a blank. When that is occurring, the feeling is only storing, so not the fact. So when we have a greater understanding that feelings are still storing without the fact, the methods that we teach in the Speckle method require us to learn 3 golden rules, which we dive deeper into in the educational classes that we provide. Those 3 golden rules all have tools that are associated for us to implement the methodology that we use. The 3 golden rules, the first one is we don't ask direct questions. So if we understand that recent facts are no longer storing, we're not gonna ask somebody, you know, how was their day? Do you want coffee? What do you wanna wear? If they don't understand, or if that fact is no longer storing. The second one is the person living with dementia is the expert. And then the third one, which we commonly know, is you don't contradict. Again, because I'm not a coach or a practitioner in the Speckle method, can't teach at length on this. We do have a class coming up tomorrow night that's held virtually from 5 to 6:30 that is on our website, can be registered to attend. So I love Penny Garner's analogy and description of what dementia is. So after diagnosis, for the purposes of managing the condition, dementia is best understood as the random, intermittent, and increasing inability to store the facts of what just occurred in one's life, while still storing feelings in the same way as usual. So to go back to our education and our 3 pillars, here at Dementia Together, we provide education, all utilizing the Speckle method. It's a family-driven model, so that is our biggest target, is we help families live well so that they can care well for their loved one living with dementia. We then go to the outside model of those people who might be interacting with someone living with dementia, educating and training senior care providers, healthcare providers, first responders, and then local businesses as well. Many of our participants, after taking one of the classes, report that it's a sign of relief, hope, and life-changing in the method that they just learned. We also offer enrichment programs. Those are all Speckle informed. One of the biggest enrichment pieces that we're most known for is our memory cafes, which are themed social gatherings for the person living with dementia and their care partner to attend. We have those here locally, Windsor, Greeley, Fort Collins, and Loveland, and then as well on virtual Zoom meetings as well. Some other groups that I'd love to highlight is we do have a veterans group. Those are all veterans living with dementia. It gives them the opportunity to reminisce and provide social connection. Our Be Sharp engagements program, we've partnered with the Lincoln Center and the Symphony to encourage those living with dementia and their care partner to attend the Symphony 8 times a year. It's a wonderful program. We get 60 tickets donated, and it's just a time for them to go out into the community, have that social connection, and then also experience just the beauty of music as well. Hope. It's a big one. We have an advisory board that is comprised of those living with dementia and their care partners. One of the things that they had talked about in their walk along the dementia journey is the diagnosis. For many, it was traumatic of going into the doctor's office, getting that diagnosis that they have dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever it may be, and then it's come back and see me in a year. So one of the things that we've developed to counteract that and provide tangible hope in that time is our patient resource folders. Those are given to doctors here in Northern Colorado and beyond, all at no charge, so that when they are giving a dementia-related diagnosis, they can provide this folder with all the resources that we provide. One big thing I would love to highlight is that all of the resources, education, enrichment, and hope that we do provide to families is offered at no charge, so that cost is never a barrier to support and hope. So our vision is living well with dementia is the expectation, not the exception. I love this picture. So we recently taught a class virtually in India. It's a senior care community that was helping this gentleman live his best life, and he thought it was his birthday every day, so they celebrated his birthday every day. So how I got involved, I was not threatened. I did come to the organization on my own will. But about 3 years ago, I was asked to be on the board, and at the same time happened to notice signs and symptoms that were occurring in my mom. Short memory issues that started to develop. Of course, being a board member and then getting hired on, I threw myself into the education and enrichment programs that we had available. It was after the first class that I realized we had something special. It truly changed my life and the trajectory that I knew in order to help my own mom live well. It taught me simple, counterintuitive strategies to promote that lifelong well-being with my mom. It taught me how to talk with her, communicate in a way that wouldn't create anxiety and agitation, and ultimately just have her live in a contented state. So ways to get involved. Because we are a nonprofit, we love volunteers. We have volunteering opportunities at any of the events that we talked about. You guys as business leaders can also become a dementia-friendly business. We offer that training to you guys at no charge as well. And then you can become a partner. If it's something that you feel compelled or feel is a right fit, you can partner along with our organization to help support the mission of Dementia Together. Our upcoming fundraiser, I left some flyers on the table. We have an annual fundraiser on April 24th. This is our community fundraiser in that we want people there to have a better understanding, learn more about the resources that we have, and to ultimately get the word out so that people know how to get connected right away. So together, in the meantime, we can make living well with dementia the expectation and not the exception. Any questions?
Okay.
I'm not sure if this relates, but I just recently heard of a program, I think it was in Boulder, called the Blue Envelope. And it is, so if there are folks that have, you know, issues either with dementia or other kinds of mental issues, that they have an envelope, so if they're stopped by police, they can give that, and so police know that it's a different situation. And I didn't know if you're aware of that, if you're promoted, or if something like that is going to happen in this area of the region.
I was not aware. I think the only thing, if somebody is living with dementia, they may not remember to hand that card to a first responder or to a police officer. For us, what we have developed is cards, little tip cards, one saying that my loved one is living with cognitive impairment. So those can be utilized at restaurants, places of service that a loved one can hand to someone to just kind of give them like, hey, can you take your time? Don't rush this person. Don't ask direct questions. It's got all the tips on the back. We also have one for those who are cognizant of their memory disability, to be able to say, I'm living with dementia, please take your time. And then we also have just dementia-friendly cards so that anybody can have those as a, you know, pull out of your pocket and remember the tips and the tools and the strategies that we teach as well.
Could you explain a little bit further in terms of not asking direct questions of what one should do if you're not asking direct questions?
Great question. So
I did that very directly.
yes, you did.
Yeah.
So for every rule, we have a tool. So for do not ask direct questions, we utilize statements or the questionless question. So if I were to go over and see my mom, well, actually, in fact, I call my mom every day and I say, hey, Mom, I'm just checking in. I'm wondering what you did today, or I'm wondering how your day was. So we wonder a lot, or tell me about, or I might just say, oh my gosh, it was a beautiful day, just a plain statement. That gives the person the opportunity to engage in the conversation and not feel on the spot. In our class, they'll talk a lot more about that, but when we're confronted with a question, we have to go to our photograph album and ask ourselves another question. So it could be simply like, do I want a cup of coffee? Well, I have to go to my album and say, do I want a cup of coffee? Have I had a cup of coffee? What time of the morning is it? Where am I? Where's my car? Who are these people? All these kind of things. So that's where people, you can see the anxiety or the agitation begin to start because they've been asked 18 questions just by 10 a.m. So if we can confront them or interact with them using a questionless question, a statement, it takes that pressure off. They can engage, they don't have to engage. You can say, boy, I'd love a cup of coffee, or I think the coffee's ready right now. And then they can say, oh, I'd love a cup of coffee, or that sounds good, or ugh, I don't want coffee right now. It gives them that opportunity.
Another question is if you have a loved one that you think is experiencing dementia, how do we best get them involved with you?
Yes. So if you are seeing signs of any kind of cognitive impairment, whether it's been diagnosed or not, you can call us, you can connect with me. What we do is we typically get you started in one of our classes. The classes that we teach, again, are this Intro to Speckle. It's called For Families Intro to Speckle, helping your loved one live well with dementia. After that, we do offer workshops that are more individualized to help you in the specific area that your loved one may be going down. Every dementia diagnosis is different, every person is different, and so that's why we have those individualized workshops that follow up after the class. One other thing I'd like to mention is that we do family consults. So if you're a family in crisis, or you are trying to take the keys away, or trying to transition your loved one into a care community, we help with that. We can be there full step of the way at no charge to you. So there's, again, that no barrier to cost, or no barrier to support and hope, sorry.
So just to clarify, the families pay nothing?
Correct.
Okay. So where do you get your funding?
So we are supported through corporate partnerships, sponsorships, individual donors, and grants.
And one more question, sorry, Wynn. Just going back to that blue card
Yes.
comment in Boulder, can you talk just a little bit more about what you do for Fort Collins for the first responders and the training, given the history that, Loveland had with folks with working with people with dementia? I'd like, to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we were actually Cindy was one of the first people to get called after the Loveland incident to come in and provide training to all of the Loveland Police Department. Since then, we've instituted first responder training. We have worked with Thompson Valley EMS. We've worked with the Larimer County Sheriff's Department, Boulder County Sheriff's Department, and other agencies to support them with strategies and tools if they come across somebody who may have some form of cognitive impairment. The training has been wonderful. We've actually grown to the phase where we're creating scenarios that are being filmed so that this education can be at every single police, fire, EMT station as part of their training routine as well. So,
Other questions?
Are there programs either like this or similar to it in other states? And my question is because I have some friends that live elsewhere and could probably benefit from something like this.
I'm glad you brought that up. So we are not familiar with other in the meantime organizations. It's typically an Alzheimer's Association chapter in other states. We are carefully growing our organization. We do offer virtual resources, so if you have families that are living in another state, they can jump on one of our virtual educations, virtual memory cafes, even a virtual or a phone call consult to work with our team. And I do want to follow up with the blue envelope. So one thing I don't think a lot of people know, if you have a loved one that's living with dementia and you call into your local police, fire department, typically, I think it's the 911 hotline that you can call, but non-emergent. You can flag your home as someone living with cognitive impairment so that when police or any first responder shows up, they can approach the situation a lot differently, as opposed to, if there's the threat of like my husband's trying to kidnap me or anything like that, which are some of the scenarios that we come across, they just have a better mindset of going into it, understanding that there may be someone living there with cognitive impairment. So.
Could you speak for a second? I had the advantage, you guys came to speak at the group last week, and I learned just a tremendous amount. But one of the things I'd never realized was what happens when someone's experiencing dementia, often how their visual acuity narrows. And can you talk to a little bit about that, please?
Yes. So if you all take your hands out to the side, everyone. This is normal aging. We can see out to the side, our hands. And as we age, if you go here, so a little bit less, someone with dementia starts to develop where they're here, and then it goes to monocular. So take one, single down. So often you'll see people shuffling and just looking straight down at those later stages of dementia. And so knowing that, the way we approach people is always through the front or from the front instead of the back. So if they're seeing here, same thing, like you may see you're at the dinner table and they're looking right here. Well, if someone reaches over to grab their plate of food, they might smack them. Or if you come up from behind, again, they might smack you because they're not aware of the peripheral vision of seeing you. So again, it's always best to approach from the front.
Protecting the people if they're not with a member, protecting them from like we own a moving company.
Yeah.
So we have those people that we move, or like I had a guy I moved 5 times, so I become a friend. He called me up, bring me back from Florida, and protecting those people. You have tools for the family member that actually don't live with them.
So I missed the last part. I'm sorry.
Do you have tools to protect people with dementia? Like protect it from like different people that come in to take advantage of senior overall.
I wouldn't say that our organization has like protection or safety measures. Our mission is to work with the caregivers in order to whether help them live at home or in a care community with counterintuitive communication strategies. That probably wouldn't be our area of expertise in helping with like protecting them from people who are trying to call on the phone and take things from them. So what was that? Oh, okay. Deidre could probably speak to that more. Yeah.
Deidre, did you want to speak to that?
Every county has a local ombudsman that you could contact if you feel like a senior citizen is being taken advantage of or a person at risk. You can also just call 911.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Please, online, Heather.
Hi. Oh gosh, sorry, there's a lot of here. Question about how do you deal with people who are still very physically active and are slipping into memory decline? We're dealing with this with my mom right now, and I'm actually flying to Utah this weekend to help start some of these conversations. But it's hard because she still skis 3 days a week. She hikes. She's just super physical, but is having this hard time because she's conflicted with, she knows she's having these pretty significant memory lapses and decline. So
Yeah, I think keeping somebody socially connected, and if there is somebody that can walk alongside and support your mom or your person, so there's that safety piece, is important. So knowing that we've got the photograph album, and when somebody is confronted with a blank, that's the onset of dementia. The pages in the back of the photograph album, they don't forget those. So a lot of times you'll have people who still enjoy skiing, or maybe we're an interior designer for their career and still love to do that kind of work. So I think what's nice and what I love about our organization is that we make a present of the past. So understanding and getting to know that person on an individual basis of the things that they still can do and still love to do from their past, incorporating those into their daily life can help them live longer and slow the decline of dementia.
Oh, that spurred a couple questions.
Thank you, Claire. I apologize. I know we're trying to wrap this up, but it just occurred to me, I'm a banker and I've got several banker friends here, and elder abuse in the financial sector is a serious, serious issue. Is there any information out there how someone over the phone or maybe in person, but how can someone recognize that they're dealing potentially with someone with dementia earlier on? Because we tend to react to a situation after it's happened rather than being able to identify the potential for fraud. Thank you.
Yep. So again, great question. One of the most highly sought after education that we offer is actually into banks. So you guys might see someone regularly taking out $1,000 every week, and that's not their normal. So I think looking for things that are out of the normal, if your tellers or whoever's interacting with them are seeing them on a frequent basis, I would highly recommend having our staff come in to do training, because we go over that. We talk about the symptoms, we talk about what to look for, and then we talk about the strategies to implement in interacting with someone who's living with any kind of cognitive impairment. Yes.
So in your example of your test, you know, the feeling, memory, is it true, and I think I've witnessed it in my people that I know have dementia, the short term and the long term seem to be short term no, long term click?
Yeah, so
you see that on your test results, or?
Yeah, so for someone experiencing that onset of dementia, that's when the blanks are storing. The blanks haven't stored in their past album. So that's why we talk about utilizing that past album to help them cope with what's happening today. So if someone, we were at Deidre's senior care community, and we were having a party that they had gave in our honor, and we had some of our participants that were there attending, they were sitting at tables, and he stood up and he said, "I'm ready to order now." And so he had referred back to a time where he was at a restaurant and he was ready to order. It's not on us to correct him and say, "Well, no, you're not, you're at a party." Well, of course, that is matching to a time where it's contented, it's a green is what we call. If he's matching to a time of trauma, that has a whole set of parameters that we work with someone to counteract and get them back into green. So I went over and took his order. Yeah.
Not a question, but more a comment. So Claire has already done a presentation for our bank up in Estes, and she'll be doing one for ours. So if you feel that that could be beneficial to your bank or other organization, I highly recommend reaching out to Claire.
Thank you. Yeah, and that training can be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. It just depends on what your capacity is. We can pack a lot in 20 minutes. So, yeah.
You know, it's, I was reading a book recently that the average lifespan just prior to the Civil War was 42 years old in the United States. And, you know, now we've doubled that in that amount of time. So unfortunately, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we're all going to experience this with a loved one or with ourselves. So very important message. We appreciate you being here. Let's please give Claire a hand.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire. you.